Good morning. Our opening words today are by Robert French Leavens. Holy and beautiful the custom which brings us together in the presence of the Most High, to face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to ask for and offer forgiveness, to be enlightened and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of the ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend, faith, hope, and love. Let all prepare our hearts, them place. Our opening hymn is number 347 in your gray hymnal. It's Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing.
So welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where people have been gathering for almost 300 years now to further the spirit of liberal religion. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome here. As we light our chalice this morning here in the sanctuary, I invite our friends on Zoom to light a chalice at home. You can also light a chalice symbolically by typing the letters LC in the chat. And you can post in the chat the location where you are lighting your chalice so we can see where you're zooming in from. Helping us light our chalice here in the sanctuary today is Megan Campbell. Thank you, Megan. May our spirits be open to whatever warmth, illumination, and energy this day may offer us, and may we use these gifts for the good. We have several announcements this morning. First, I want to announce the new board members for the church year. We meant to do this at ingathering. We omitted it. So officially, I'd like to welcome onto the board this year Mark Bailey, Peter Cho, Sarah Dorr, Vicky Gaw, your treasurer, Susan Lincoln, Alan McRobert, and Jen McLean. Please give them a big round of applause in appreciation for their service. From the membership committee, a new photo directory can help our new senior minister, me, get to know us all more easily. You can easily make your appointment to be photographed by going to the church website and clicking the link. And if you do not have computer access, you can make your appointment today. Just please see Nina Wampler at the sign-up table during community hour. Just a reminder as the new church year gets underway that the way to stay informed about all the good things happening at First Parish is to read your monthly parishioner. You can even print it out and stick it on your refrigerator if people still do such things, and read the Friday emails that go out every Friday evening. And if you're not getting these, please check with the office. There will be a caring cards table in the common room after the service today, where you can add your signature or a little note for folks who maybe need a little TLC. The lay pastoral care team will have cards addressed and ready. You can also fill out a card for someone who you know would appreciate a card. The hospitality team is looking for volunteers to make coffee and usher. It's a simple thing you can do to make our community a welcoming place on Sunday. The jobs are set up so volunteers can still attend the service. You won't miss a thing. If you've never done it before, you can sign up for a training spot where they will pair you with an experienced usher or coffee person. It is as friendly as can be. The link can be found on the First Parish webpage. So many thanks to the hospitality team. Please consider adding in your own energy to their efforts. An announcement from the Environmental Justice Committee. This afternoon there will be in Bedford a demonstration in support of the thousands of people who are doing the climate march in New York City against fossil fuels. Some of your fellow First Parishioners are actually on a bus right now going to New York to join this demonstration. I told them to zoom in and hold it up, make it the church bus impromptu. We'll see if that happens. But there is a demonstration in support of this effort here in Bedford, 2 to 3 p.m. in Veterans Memorial Park. We hope you can come and show your support. And finally, here's an important announcement from the Fine Arts Committee. Our own gallery at First Parish is hosting an important exhibit of contemporary art brought directly from Ukraine starting next Saturday, September 23rd, starting Bedford Day. The show will be up through October 7th. Features artwork by renowned artists who are still working and living in Ukraine, and much of it has never been seen in the United States before. Admission is free. It is open to the public. Please stop by during Bedford Day itself until 4 p.m. You can get a flyer for more information in the foyer. And after Bedford Day, or I should say on Bedford Day, there will be a free celebratory concert at 5 p.m. here in the sanctuary, featuring acclaimed Ukrainian soprano Olga Abakamova and Clemens Teufel on piano. An informal reception will follow. This is also free and open to the public, no reservations required. So that is it for announcements today. So now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in saying our unison affirmation that we say every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Please be seated. And now our very own Dean Groves is going to lead us in some special music.
For a long time, I wanted to write a song that was just for First Parish. And as soon as I got that idea, I knew that the first line of the song had to be, "It's not like this every Sunday." And so that kind of rattled around in my subconscious for a while, and then at one point the song just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Here I am." And so the words are in your order of service, and I'm going to teach you the melody. We're going to do it one line at a time, and then we'll start all together with the first verse. So here's the first line. It's not like this every Sunday.
It's not like this every Sunday.
There's always something different in store.
There's always something different in store.
My goodness, you sound good. I've learned that at First Parish in Bedford.
I've learned that at First Parish in Bedford.
We check our expectations at the door.
We check our expectations at the door.
Marvelous, marvelous. Okay, here we go. It's not like this every Sunday. There's always something different in store. I've learned that at First Parish in Bedford. We check our expectations at the door. A disco ball hangs from the ceiling. We turn it on to lighten up the mood. And though it really has no special meaning, the whimsy does us all a lot of good. And we've got lots of fine committees. Perhaps you'd like to join just one or two. They seem to be always having meetings, though I'm not sure exactly what they do. If you, like most of our parishioners, take any scripture with a grain of salt, we'd really love to hear your opinions. We value the views of Whitechapel. We strive for lives of joy and meaning. We seek the truth in love responsibly. And that is why First Parish in Bedford is our beloved faith community.
morning. Oh, that's so nice. So I have a brief announcement, which is that our Faith Development Kickoff is this Sunday. So this will start on our regular Sundays, that is our not all ages worship Sundays, that after the time for all ages, which I'm about to do, that children and youth and their teachers will proceed to class. So that starts today. Today is our kickoff with everybody in one big group. We're going to talk about how we are in community together in our new year and make sure that we all know what it means to be in faith development programming in our community together. So that's today. If you are new to our community, we invite you to briefly escort your child over to our common room, which is where we're all gathering today, just to check in with me real quick, make sure I know what I need to know about your kiddo. So thank you all for listening to my brief announcement. And now I have a story about Crow and Partridge. And it's kind of sad, but then it finishes out okay. So Crow sat perched in a tree, looking at the world that he was part of, and a partridge crossed the path below. Crow watched for a while and thought, wow, what a beautiful way of walking that partridge has. For a few minutes, he sat mesmerized. Crow noticed that Partridge took tiny, delicate steps, and his feet moved quickly. And Crow flew down, landed next to Partridge, and he began to follow along behind Partridge and tried for a very long time to walk just the way that Partridge walked. But it was difficult. Crow's feet were much larger than Partridge's feet. And when Crow tried to take quick, delicate, tiny steps, he tripped over his own toes. Finally, Partridge turned around and asked, Crow, what are you doing? Oh, don't be angry with me, said Crow. I've never seen a bird that walks as beautifully as you, and I'm trying to walk like you. For a moment, Partridge was a little prideful about it. But then he thought, wait a minute. You're being foolish, Crow. You're a crow. You should walk like a crow. You look silly when you try to walk like a partridge. But Crow did not hear Partridge's words, and he kept trying to walk like Partridge, no matter how many times Partridge told him, you're enough as a crow. You're a beautiful crow. You walk a beautiful crow walk. And for a while, Crow actually forgot how to even walk like a crow, but he wasn't walking like a partridge, and he was just so sad. And then one day, a turkey came into town. And Crow and Partridge both thought, oh, now that's a walk. And so Crow decided that Crow was best off being a crow and being enough as a crow, because the turkey was clearly happy enough being a turkey, and Partridge was happy being enough as a partridge. So, walk your walk. You are enough in your walk. I think I'm going to be a turkey today, though. I invite our children, youth, and people to come with us to the common room.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good morning. This is the time in our service when we invite anyone who would like to light a candle of joy or concern. Just come on up. Keep your comments brief if you can. From the sanctuary, we'll go on to Zoom, and after the service, someone will check the chat in case somebody enters a joy or concern there.
You reading this, be ready, by William Stafford. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor, what scent of old wood hovers, what softened sound from outside fills the air. Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found. Carry into evening all that you want from this day. This interval you spend reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around.
It's true that this is a unique congregation where it's not like this every Sunday, though there are some things we do almost every Sunday, and one of those is ask for your generosity in sustaining and strengthening this congregation that is a spiritual home to many, even those who live far, and a community that sustains us through the many ups and downs of life. All that is given generously is received with deep gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you for your generosity. And thank you to Steve and Dean for sharing your gifts of music with us today. We are right now in the midst of the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which ends at sundown tonight. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year and kicks off the period known as the Days of Awe, the high holy days culminating in Yom Kippur. In the Jewish tradition, this is a time of reflection and repentance, of asking for forgiveness. It's a time where one takes responsibility and accountability for any wrongs done in the past year, when one seeks to mend any relationships that may have become frayed, including one's relationship with the divine. So to all of our Jewish members and friends, or those with family and friends and loved ones who celebrate, we say Shana Tova, or Happy New Year. Most of you have probably heard the story of the impatient Gentile or non-Jewish person long ago who wanted to convert to Judaism but didn't want to work at it too much. So he went to a very famous rabbi, Rabbi Shammai. This was in the 1st century before the Common Era, and he said, "Teacher, I will convert to Judaism, but only if you can explain to me the whole of Torah, the whole of the Jewish scripture, while I am standing on one foot. In other words, don't go on about it." And Rabbi Shammai was insulted by this ridiculous request and threw the man out of his house. Actually, the story goes he smacked him with a ruler and then threw him out of the house. So the would-be convert went to Rabbi Hillel, another very famous rabbi of the day, and said the exact same thing. "I will convert if you can explain all of the Torah while I stand on one foot." And Rabbi Hillel, without really even looking up, said, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. The rest is commentary. Go and study it." Now in the story, notice Hillel isn't saying that Judaism can be reduced or replaced by what we would today call the golden rule, right? A simple ethical commandment. He doesn't say Torah is superfluous. In fact, he commands the convert, go and study it. But it's a good hook, right? Like, it says this is the vision. This is where we're going. This is the heart of this enterprise. And it's an approach that the story goes on to say brought students in. So Unitarian Universalism is not a tradition that is particularly friendly to standing on one foot kind of explanations, right? So you're standing on one foot, and I say, okay. In 1648, the Cambridge Platform established the principle of congregational polity as a fundamental governing structure of the standing order in Massachusetts, which is why today we're an independent association of congregations. And over you go. You've already fallen over. And I haven't even gotten to Ralph Waldo Emerson yet. So, okay, maybe instead I start with the 7 principles, right? The 7 principles are what most you use except as a summary statement of what this is all about. They're not a statement of belief per se, but they summarize our core commitments, and they've served us well, right? Since 1985, most Unitarian Universalists have taken the 7 principles to heart as a statement of who we are, and I can tell you that most UU religious professionals really appreciate having something that you can put like on a bookmark or a flyer or a bulletin and like hand out to a curious inquirer, but brief they are not. So you're standing on one foot, and I'm like, well, it's simple. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, affirm to covenant and promote these 7 principles: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible, and you've already fallen over, right? And I'm on principle 4 of 7. Haven't gotten more than halfway through. You can find a complete list of the current 7 principles in the front of your gray hymnal, by the way, if you'd like to peruse them. I know you already know them by heart, but if you want to hand them to someone else. It is fine that we are not a standing on one foot kind of tradition, right? It is fine. Religions are complex, and Unitarian Universalism does not need to be easily reducible to a simple statement. I think in terms of a simple, compelling, poetic statement, the unison affirmation that we say every Sunday here at First Parish, which many UU congregations say some variation of, it does a beautiful job of capturing something meaningful and something compelling about who we are and why we're here, right? It does a beautiful job of saying there's something happening here that is worth giving your heart to. But it doesn't capture the full complexity and the full depth of this tradition with its deep themes of reason, freedom, tolerance, hope and love, liberation, wonder, compassion, questioning, growth, democracy, interdependence. I could go on and on. There's a lot going on in this tradition that we call Unitarian Universalism. And right now, as you may know, our association is engaged in a national conversation on the language that we use to talk about what Unitarian Universalism is, what it means, and what it commits us to. Specifically, we've been asked to consider new language for what are called the principles and purposes of the UUA, including the section of the principles and purposes known as the 7 principles. And this conversation emerged in 2 ways. The UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, was specifically charged with considering certain changes to the 7 principles at the 2017 General Assembly. That is to say, UU delegates, including maybe the delegates of this congregation, voted for that to happen as our democracy in action. And the second piece of this is that we are actually required as an association, by our own rules, to periodically reconsider and revisit the language of the principles every 15 years, because no statement of who we are, no matter how beloved, is supposed to become dogma or orthodoxy or creed. So it's baked into who we are to keep questioning. And we were overdue, it turns out, to ask this question. Is this still the best expression of who we are and who we want to be and what we intend to do? And so we created a commission to reimagine the principles and purposes, because of course we did. And the commission took on the task of reimagining the 7 principles. They spent a long time gathering a lot of feedback from thousands and thousands of individual UUs and different stakeholder groups over several years. And one of the things they were asked to do was create a statement of our principles that, if possible, could be shorter, more poetic, more memorable, right? It has been said that no one on their deathbed would ever ask to have the 7 principles read to them, right? They're not poetic like that. They don't speak to the heart. They don't necessarily inspire, it is said. And so it was hoped, I think, that something pithier and more poetic and less wordy might emerge from this conversation and might even better serve to introduce new people to our tradition. Maybe we could even explain it while they stood on one foot. But if you know our people, you might have guessed that less wordy was the least likely outcome of this process, right? We love ourselves some words. And so the reimagined principles and purposes, in one sense, are, in fact, even wordier than the 7 principles that came before. But what the commission did do, what they did do was reframe the 7 principles as 7 core values that underlie the commitments of our tradition. And they put these 7 values in an attractive and easily digestible graphic that you could actually put on a bookmark or a flyer or a business card. They did what every math teacher since algebra has told you to do before you start a story problem, right? They drew a picture. And it's a picture of 7 values, 6 in a circle, like the petals of a flower, arranged so that no one value predominates, but they are all related, all interdependent. And then they put a 7th value at the center. So now if you're standing on one foot, I can even just hand you a picture. These are the values that they put on the outside: justice, equity, generosity, pluralism, interdependence, and transformation. And the 7th value they put at the center is love. And the new approach is to say, these are the values we hold dear. These are the values that ground and motivate our commitments. These are the values we have set our heart on, right? 7 words. And then, in the wordy part, they go on to lay out like the specific commitments that these values might lead us into. A covenant, right? A promise. And they do this with many, many words, more than 7. Most of that language incorporates the existing 7 principles, by the way, in some form, while adding and expanding on them. And people have lots of thoughts and feelings about this proposal, as you can imagine, right? The 7 principles are mostly beloved. This is a big change in approach. It just generated a lot of conversation, and now it goes to a vote. And there are actually 2 votes. The proposal passed the first vote, which was at General Assembly 2023. If it gets approved again at General Assembly 2024 by a 2/3 majority, it becomes the new statement of our principles and purposes. So this year, as a part of this larger conversation, and knowing that your delegates, our delegates, right, First Parish delegates, are going to GA to vote on this proposal in 2024. The worship team at First Parish will be taking these 7 proposed values as our monthly worship themes for Sunday mornings, looking at one value a month. And we're going to ask in what way this proposed value might be central to Unitarian Universalism, and we're going to ask what this value might look like in practice. And we're going to ask whether and how this value is relevant to our actual lives, because what I want to know is, if this is who we say we are, how does it matter? Why does it matter? We live in a time of unprecedented change and complexity, uncertainty and tension. We are facing challenges that are global in scope and existential in nature, and it is my belief that Unitarian Universalism has something vital and compelling to offer the world at this time. And UU congregations have something to offer individuals and communities that is so needed and so important. So if these are our core values, how are they part of that, something vital that we have to offer? Because otherwise, what are we doing here? And our purpose in having this conversation is not to push for any predetermined answers, right? It is just to inspire a conversation. So let's now start one of those conversations. This sermon has been a lot of preamble, which was necessary because we're launching this year-long enterprise, but now let's actually talk, right? Let's talk about love as a UU value, the word they put right in the center. We're actually going to begin the year and end the year talking about love. And to understand how big a change this is, consider that the 7 principles do not include the word love at all. Love is not mentioned in the 7 principles. But I think that virtually every contemporary UU minister, I feel pretty safe saying this, virtually every contemporary UU minister would name as one of the most basic commitments of Unitarian Universalism that all people are worthy of love. Right? This is how we understand the universalism part of our tradition, that all people, including you, are worthy of love, just as you are, right now, imperfect as you are. Your true name, to use the words of Reverend Robin Bartlett, UU minister here in Sterling, your true name is beloved. Now ground this theologically however you like. We are a pluralistic tradition, and all sorts of different theological perspectives are right here in this room. So you may say your true name as a child of God is beloved, or you may think your true name as a child of the universe is beloved. Your true name as a gift of the ancestors, as a unique and irreplaceable expression of life itself. As a seeker, a wanderer, one born from mystery, passing into mystery, your true name has always been beloved. You're worthy of love just as you are. And it's ironic that way back in 1961, at the time of the merger of the Unitarians and Universalists that got this whole UU thing going, the Universalists, it is said, were afraid that the Unitarians, with their grand traditions of reason, freedom, and tolerance, were going to swallow the Universalists up, and their traditions of faith and hope and love would be lost. And I would say to the contrary, it is Universalism that is having an ascendant moment in our movement, especially in its emphasis on love. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. You've often heard it said that every minister really has just one sermon in them, right? One big idea, one commanding theme that they return to over and over again, like spinning this idea out in variations and elaborations. Like Hillel saying, what is hateful to you, don't do to your neighbor. Everything else is commentary. Well, I think I have more like 6 sermons. I'm not going to tell you what they are. It would be interesting to hear from you, like at the end of the year or in a couple of years, what you think they are. And I have to say, actually, last Sunday is the first time I recall preaching about an appliance. So I may need to add a 7th category for appliance-based sermons. We'll see. We'll see. But certainly, one of these 6 sermons that I have is this simple expression of universalism. You are worthy of love. You are enough. Just like Crow, you are enough in the way that you walk in the world. And you will indeed see me return to this theme again and again. You are enough. It doesn't mean that people don't make mistakes. Doesn't mean that people don't do evil, unfortunately. Doesn't mean people shouldn't be held accountable. It doesn't mean that we're not all going to strive to grow and change and build a better world together. We are. But even as we are engaged in this, in our imperfect human striving, in our imperfect human failing, we are worthy of love. And it's a difficult idea, this idea that everyone is worthy of love. I struggle with it. We are meant, I think, to struggle with it. No one ever said this was an easy religion to be a part of. Whether you say everyone is worthy of love or you say everyone has inherent worth and dignity, these are challenging ideas. They're meant to stretch us spiritually, so we will indeed keep coming back to that one idea. Sometimes when I'm struggling with this idea, and I don't want to say stuck in this struggle, I turn to an alternative formulation of universalism that I sometimes give, my own personal expression of it. And the alternative formulation I offer is that everyone can do the work of love just as they are. You can participate in the work of love in the world just as you are right now. This is a different way of saying you are enough. You can participate in the work of bringing more love into the world as an imperfect, distracted, busy, sometimes overwhelmed, maybe cranky, flawed human being. You don't need to improve yourself first. You don't need to fix yourself first. You do not need to perfect yourself in any way. In some way, large or small, love can work through you. We are never separated from the power and possibility of love. We are never broken such that we cannot be a vessel of love. And that love can transform the world, and as it does so, it can transform us. And this approach invites me into wonder. It invites me into curiosity and humility. And I often say, and here's yet a third formulation of my universalism, everyone is bigger than whatever story the world is currently telling about them. And each of us is bigger than whatever story we are currently telling about ourselves. We are so vast as human beings. We're so vast in our potential. We are so mysterious in our operations. Can we ever say that we are beyond the reach and possibility of love, of healing, of transformation? And so then we are invited to wonder, how could love enter into this story that we're telling together? How could it change it? And this invites us into hope. What new stories are yet possible? So I want to close with a very small illustration of this. This is a story from 2018. It's stuck with me since I heard it. Maybe you've heard it. You can find it online. I'm drawing on a Washington Post article for the details. And the story describes an online encounter between the comedian Sarah Silverman, of all people, and an angry male internet troll, right? So specifically, Sarah Silverman was, posting on her Twitter account. She was on social media, and a guy came on her feed, and he posted at her a single, very offensive word that is often directed at women by deep misogynists, a very hateful word. And rather than blast the guy or block the guy, Sarah Silverman got curious, and she went to the man's own social media page, and she read some things about him. And she noticed things about him, including, among other things, that he had a lot of untreated back pain. And she replied to him on Twitter, "I believe in you. I read your timeline. I see what you're doing. And your rage is thinly veiled pain," she said. "But you know what? I know this feeling. See what happens when you choose love," she said. "I see it in you." And this response was so unexpected that it caused the man to open up. And he responded back to her, not with more anger or more abuse, but with wonderment. And they started talking. And as they talked, he opened up about his struggles with childhood abuse, his feelings of hopelessness and isolation, and the anger that came out of that. Silverman kept encouraging him to their connecting him to their shared humanity. She encouraged him to get help. And then she arranged for help. With the help of her social media following, they found him a specialist in the community where he lived. They paid for him to get treatment for his back problem so that his pain could be eased. And he later expressed his gratitude for this unexpected love that so many people had shown him. And it's a small thing. It's one moment, one interaction. But in our increasingly angry, increasingly polarized world, I have to believe that a religious tradition that reminds us that we are all worthy of love and we are bigger than we know, that reminds us to keep inviting love into the story, our own story and the story we're telling with others, a tradition that reminds us to keep wondering how love might yet work in the world. A tradition like that is needed. It is vital. It offers hope for our future and strength for our present day. So if indeed I only had one sermon to give, I wouldn't mind giving that one again and again and again. You are beloved. You are enough. You can be a part of the healing of the world just as you are. And there is more love in our collective story yet waiting to be told. Anything else is commentary. Our closing hymn today is number 131. Love will guide us. Won't you please rise in body or spirit? Our closing words today are by Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love. And now we extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, or the fire of commitment. Let us keep those with us until we meet again. Go in peace.